Welcome to this video on data elements and form structures in the FITBIR Data Dictionary. To start, here's an overview of a standard FITBIR submission timeline. In this video, we will be discussing prerequisite knowledge of the FITBIR Data Dictionary that is crucial for the step defining data. Defining data comes after sharing your case report forms with FITBIR operations and ensuring you have created your study profile and user accounts, and that your study is also collecting sufficient PII for GUID generation. At this point, you will begin perusing FITBIR's data dictionary for data elements and form structures matching your study's CRFs, a process called cross mapping. Please see our video on cross mapping for a more detailed explanation of that process. In this video, we will be covering these 4 topics, which are fundamental to the defining data step. First, we will go over the FITBIR Data Dictionary, its foundation, the recommended TBI forms, and an overview of the terminology you will see throughout this video. Next, we will be reviewing data elements, their attributes, the concept of unique data elements, and a demonstration on how data elements are created. Next, we will cover repeatable groups, their meaning and attributes. Finally, we will end this video with a look at form structures and some of their fundamental characteristics. The Data Dictionary aligns with the NINDS CDE project, in that it supports the standardization of the data through its development by working groups comprised of experts on the subject matter. This has resulted in a list of NINDS recommended outcomes and core CDEs for TBI research. NINDS defined a set of core CDEs and instruments, which are data elements and forms that collect essential information applicable to any study. Examples of the general core CDEs and forms include basic demographic information and basic enrollment data collected from all study participants. Examples of disease-specific core CDEs for traumatic brain injury studies include CDEs for the Glasgow Outcome Scale. I will now briefly show you how to find more information on NINDS recommended TBI forms and core CDEs through the FITBIR public website. Navigate to the FITBIR public website homepage, Data, TBI forms, Here's where you can find core CDEs. Now we will review some key terms, starting with data element. A data element is essentially a representation of a feature on your CRF that you are attempting to capture. Other key terms that we will review are form structures, which are comprised of data elements, and repeatable groups, which organize form structures. There are 2 types of data elements, common and unique. CDEs are created by the NINDS CDE project, while UDEs are created by FITBIR users on a case-by-case basis. Programmatic approval is required if you are unable to match or cross-map your study CRFs to what is available in FITBIR. A form structure is a collection of data elements organized to aggregate data in one place. Often a form structure will mirror an outcome measure. Here you can see the Glasgow Coma scale and the questions represented by data elements which comprise the form structure on the right. A repeatable group provides the ability to organize the data elements within a form structure. The repeatable aspect means you can submit multiple rows of data to a repeatable group, which is a subset of questions in a form structure, to capture the same data being collected more than once for the same subject on the same visit date. A data element can be used more than once in a form structure if they are in different groups. Now let's focus more on data elements. Here is the gender type data element pulled up from the FITBIR Dictionary. In the dictionary, there is information about the element version, type, title, variable name, short description, definition, and any relevant notes. The variable name of a data element is its most identifiable feature. The variable name has a property which shows what is being asked about the topic, so here, gender, and a representation term, which shows what the anticipated response or answer is. Here it is type. For this particular representation term, there is a set of permissible values from which the user can select the proper subject gender. Certain representation terms indicate the presence of permissible values, as is the case with type. Here is a list of commonly used representation terms, each with a category outlining the type of measure being captured, as well as an associated definition. The abbreviations are what are used in the variable names of the data elements. In addition to variable names, a data element is defined by its type, in this case, a CDE. Its title, which expands the abbreviated variable name, and finally its short description and definition. Generally, the description and definition can contain similar features. However, for data elements with longer definitions, a short description is vital to an efficient means to understand what the data element expresses. In the data dictionary, as I will show in our demo later on, the data elements are organized by title. There are 3 statuses for each data element: draft, awaiting publication, and published. Drafts are only visible by users who have accounts and can access the data dictionary. As the title suggests, these are drafts and are not published features in the data dictionary. If data elements need to be edited for any reason, it is best that they are modified at the draft or awaiting publication stage, as these have not been published and do not have previous data submitted against them. If your data elements do not match, provide rationale for additional data elements and get programmatic approval to create new, unique data elements. For this demonstration, I will provide a brief look at how to search for data elements and NINDS core CDEs for TBI research. I will then show how data elements are created through FITBIR, and then how data elements can be created through a template that you upload to FITBIR. To search for data elements, log in. Click Data Dictionary, Menu, Data Elements. Here you can search for data elements, when they were last modified, by their status, whether they are common or unique, whether they are specific to a certain disease category, and what population they are used for. If you would like to create a data element through FITBIR, click Menu, Create. You can add any associated documentation. Here we can add attributes to our data element. Add the first permissible value, the second, and so on. We can also add associated keywords and labels. You must also provide details such as submitting organization name and contact information. Now review the details for your data element. Your data element has now been created and is in draft status. You can search for it under My Data Elements. Now, a more efficient way to create multiple data elements would be to use the import template. Click Menu, Import. Here you can download the import template. I have previously filled out an import template for this demonstration. Make sure that you keep the variable headers. Notice the various variables end with a representation term, type, indicator, indicator, and 4 values. You must provide a title, whether it's a unique or common data element, the definition, the short description, what data type it is, if there's a maximum character quantity, the input restrictions, minimum, maximum values, their permissible values. They must be separated by a semicolon with no spaces, the permissible value descriptions, output codes, whether it is a unit of measure, any guidelines or instructions for filling out that data element, any notes, such as alternative variable names, the preferred question text, keywords, references, population, domain general, and if it applies to traumatic brain injury, Finally, you will have to provide information on the submitting organization and the steward organization. Once you have completed this import template, you can upload it to FITBIR. Choose File, Upload. Now, if there are any errors in the import template, you will be notified. In this case, these data elements already exist in the dictionary, and I am being notified of that. Click which data elements you'd like to import. These will now appear in the data dictionary. For more information on data element import, you can go to the public site, and under Helpful Documents, you can find an import guide. Please review this before creating data elements and importing them into FITBIR. Groups are a means of ordering your data elements to capture info relative to a certain aspect of the assessment. For example, here there is a group for the subject and the parent or guardian. Data elements in each group are related to its particular heading. Data elements can be reused in different groups. For forms that have different parts, example, Part A, Part B, etc., separate groups that contain the data element exist. Group 1 would be named Part A, Group 2 would be named Part B, and so on. This is done to make your data element organization match the outcome measure. Groups can be used to submit multiple rows of data for a subsection on the same visit for the same subject. As shown below, you can see that this group can appear up to 6 times. This is the format of what you would be submitting. You can see that multiple rows can be added per subject. In this case, we have 3 rows for this repeatable group. Form structures are comprised of data elements housed in the data dictionary. Form structures contain repeatable groups. You can search the form structure facet of the data dictionary to determine which forms capture information related to your CRFs. This is an example of a form structure. You can see that it includes aspects such as a title, short name, description, as well as documentation, groups, and attached data elements and change history. There are 2 required groups for every form structure in FITBIR. The main group is a standardized group of data elements that must be included in all FITBIR form structures and allows for the entry of basic data concerning the participant and its participation in the study. The form administration group allows for entry of information concerning the source of data collection and the context in which it was collected. Pay attention to the optionality of data elements. They can be required, they can be recommended, or optional. Appendices are form structures created to hold additional questions which could not be added to a published or shared draft form structure. Appendices are not technically linked to their parent form structure, but are named in such a way that they will appear with them for querying purposes. Before creating form structure appendices, you will be required to obtain programmatic approval. Different permissions exist for the users utilizing forms. The types of permission include owner/admin, write, and read. Like data elements, form structures have different stages of development. They can be in draft status, which is created by a user and can be seen by the creator and those given permission. It can be easily modified. Awaiting publication, the user has the finalized form structure and submits it to FITBIR operations for review. Changes can still be made, but you must contact FITBIR operations. Finally, a published form structure has been approved by FITBIR operations. These forms can be seen and used by other users. Shared drafts are form structures created by NINDS based on their standard forms. Shared drafts become FITBIR compliant with the addition of the main group and the form administration group. Changes cannot be made to shared drafts. Any additional data elements must be added using the appendix method. Consult with FITBIR Ops to use a shared draft by NINDS. For my last demonstration, I will show you how to briefly look up and search for form structures, how to download CSVs for data entry, and how form structures are created in FITBIR. To search for form structures, click Data Dictionary. Here you can search based off of ownership, whether it is a FITBIR specific form or not, form types, standardization, labels, status, copyright status, and disease category. Here you can export the form structure for data entry. I will pull up a previously filled out example of this form structure for data entry. Here you can see that all form structures must have their short name in the first cell. In cell A2, you must have the word record and indicate any unique rows of data with an X. Here you will notice the group name dot the variable name. Now we are in the form administration group. And here we have data elements that correspond to the actual measures of the form. Once the data is entered in this format, you can validate and submit your data through the submission tool. You may also make use of the ETL tool for data mapping. This can be found on the BRICS website. This tool allows you to map data that may be stored in a certain format on your end to the FITBIR Data Dictionary. You will be creating a mapping file that can transform your data's format to the FITBIR format. Please contact FITBIR operations if you'd like to use this tool. Finally, I will show you how to make a form structure in FITBIR. Go to Menu, click Create. Provide a short name, disease category, include any associated documentation. Here is where you can add data elements to the form structure, as well as create groupings. I will add the data elements that I imported and created earlier. Here you can change their groupings and whether they are required, recommended, or optional, as well as removing them. Let's create a group. Its repeatability, let's add this data element to the test grouping. We will add these data elements now to the second group I created. Keep in mind, in order to be FITBIR compliant, you must also add a main group and the form administration group and the data elements that comprise them. Now let's click Continue. We may grant permissions to any other users to edit this. Finally, let's review our form structure. If we have finalized this form structure and have validated data against this form structure in the submission tool, contact FITBIR Operations and request publication of this form structure. For more information on how to create form structures in FITBIR, go to the FITBIR public page, click Data. Under Helpful Documents, Form Structures, you have the Form Structure Creation Guide. Please review this before creating a form structure. This concludes the brief overview of the data dictionary. Please watch the video on cross mapping next to learn how to map your study's data to FITBIR. Please contact FITBIR Operations if you require any assistance. Thank you.